Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister is back at home and resting comfortably. Bilateral discussions held between Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. And the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago has identified the regional associations as key components in the national football setup. Thank you for joining us to our top story. Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar is back at home and she's said to be resting comfortably. This after she discharged herself from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Bridgetown, Barbados. Yesterday, the Prime Minister was admitted to the hospital after complaining of feeling unwell. She underwent a battery of tests at the hospital. Speaking to reporters following her arrival at the Piarco International Airport, Acting Prime Minister the Honorable Jack Warner said the Prime Minister appeared to be in very good spirits.
The Prime Minister returned, as you know, she returned with the Air Guard plane, and she is in good spirits, though still weak. She left directly for home in the Philippines with the helicopter, and we have asked her, begged her to take some rest, which she has agreed to do. We have a meeting tonight at the Philippines at 8 p.m., but she will not be attending the meeting except to say, bring greetings at about 9, but the meeting goes on as usual. But the fact is that we all gratified and happy and consoled by the fact that she did get some positive reports and everything seems to be in order. She seemed weak, of course, and she did say that she was not in the best of spirits and strength at this point in time, but nothing that I imagine a day or two of rest will not change.
Minister Warner attributed the Prime Minister's sudden illness to her busy schedule, citing that she made several trips abroad without any assistance.
She has not hinted to me except that to make a general statement that is exhaustion and the fact that she had to attend to so many engagements, and then when you bear in mind that she didn't have anybody to assist on this occasion, it makes it for me all the more difficult for us to possibly comprehend.
Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar was attending the CARICOM Mexico Summit in Barbados. The Barbados Prime Minister says he looks forward to further discussions with Trinidad and Tobago regarding the proposed natural gas pipeline. He was speaking with reporters after a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar during the second CARICOM Mexico conference at Hilton, Barbados. Verna Barth has more.
Trinidad and Tobago will soon host a delegation from Barbados to hold further talks on the proposed natural gas pipeline. This from Barbados Prime Minister Frendel Stuart, who was speaking after a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar during the second CARICOM Mexico conference at Hilton, Barbados.
An issue of great importance to Barbados is the natural gas pipeline, which we're negotiating with Trinidad and Tobago. We've had some discussions on that as well, and what the distinguished Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago has kindly done is to invite us to send a mission down to Trinidad and Tobago so that we get away from some of the paper and some from the phone calls and so on, eyeball one another and try to reach some conclusions.
With regards to this country's relationship with the Caribbean Court of Justice, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar also made mention of plans to have the Twin Island state delink its colonial ties with the British-based Privy Council.
Today I raised the issue of the CCG. As you know, I had made a statement in Trinidad and Tobago that we were interested in going to a partial accession to the Caribbean Court of Justice. There are two views on the matter as to whether the treaty would need to be amended or not amended. I've asked the Honourable Prime Minister to give it consideration, and we'll meet again tomorrow with other heads to discuss this issue, in which we are very keen, given our 50 years of independence. We think it is an opportune time for us to delink our appellate court, even though partially. Half a loaf is better than no loaf at all.
Meanwhile, the Barbados Prime Minister says his country enjoys great bilateral relations with Trinidad and Tobago. Expressing his delight to have met with Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Mr. Stuart says the meeting was fruitful and adds that further discussions will follow in future to strengthen ties between both countries.
Overall, I think we've had very good bilateral discussions. I think relations between the two countries sound, on very solid footing, and it is in the best interest of Barbados and, of course, in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago to keep it that way. Too much happens between these two countries for us to allow our relationship to degenerate.
Verna Barath, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us.
Now, if you are in a flood-prone area, move your valuable items above expected floodwaters.
Construct flood barriers to prevent water from entering your home or building.
The next big problem that causes flooding is the dumping of garbage and appliances by the river. How much times we'll say to put the old stove and fridge by the river bank? Listen, it's going to create even more flooding.
Here are some other precautions you can take.
Turn off gas and electricity. Unplug all electrical appliances.
Put dangerous liquids like strong chemicals and flammable liquids in a safe place and close those containers tightly.
Place important documents, passport, deed, birth certificate, in waterproof containers or sealed plastic bags.
Common sense now. Park your vehicle in an area that will not flood.
Secure pets on higher ground.
Have an emergency plan for your family or business so you'll know what to do beforehand, where you will go, and how you will deal with a flooding situation.
That was some real good tips, Dee. But at the end of the day, flooding takes place. And if indeed you become a victim of flooding, here is the hookup. You need to contact your regional corporation or the ODPM at 800 ODPM.
Great, Jason. Remember, damages caused by flooding can be minimized. So let's plan and prepare.
In order to safeguard our family, our community, and our country.
A message from the Ministry of National Security, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management.
Thank you for staying with us. Community groups in Tobago now have increased support for project financing and added spaces for gatherings. This as Community Development Minister, the Honorable Nizam Bash, relaunched the Tobago branch of the Community Development Fund Office. The CDF is one of the organizations that work together with NGOs and community-based organizations to alleviate poverty through funding and technical support for proposals for projects. Kimberly Ramkalawan has more.
Alleviating poverty, building resilient communities. That's the aim of the Community Development Fund as it reaches out to citizens across Trinidad and Tobago through programs offered under its umbrella. The CDF partners with various NGOs and community-based organizations to develop infrastructural projects and social services. As Community Development Minister Nizam Bakhsh puts it, working with the people in their communities is the first step to removing poverty from our nation. He was speaking at the relaunch at the office's new location situated on the second floor of the Ansi McCall building, Milford Road, Scarborough.
The most effective way of achieving prosperity is through meeting and working with the people where they are in their communities at the grassroots level. The Ministry of Community Development, through the CDF, addresses this issue by getting into communities and working with partner organizations in reducing poverty in our Twin Island state.
The fund will support specially tailored programs for residents of Tobago looking to enhance their skills. MP for Tobago West, Dr. the Honorable Dalmon Baker, took the time to give high praises for the relaunch of the program.
Today, we are happy to launch this formal opening of the Tobago office of the CDF, which could bring to fruition the wider scope of support and even encourage other groups and organizations to access the available resources placed at this unit and other units within the country. This could be an opportunity, and we must not miss the opportunity. You see, before you sent your proposals to Trinidad to get them vetted by somebody who may not necessarily have understood the culture and the peculiarities of the people in Tobago.
More than 50 representatives from the Tobago Agribusiness Corporation, the Women's Federation branch, and village councils from Blackrock, Mariah, and Calder Hall were in attendance. Minister Baksh told the groups gathered that through the program, a space was now provided for training together with financial support.
CDF has already made an impact in Tobago, but today marks a new and even more connected approach to poverty alleviation. With the relaunch of the Tobago office, civil society organizations, including grassroots organizations, can once again have access to facilities at the CDF, including space for meetings and training, access to internet services, access to information relevant to their work, and ready access to technical support and backstopping through our Tobago-based technical officers and community volunteers.
The Community Development Fund was first launched in 1996 as a result of a loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank. Through programs offered, persons are provided with skill training courses as well as mentorship. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
In keeping with its promise to make public services more accessible to citizens, government has outlined plans to decentralize some of its offices by placing them outside the capital city of Port of Spain. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Communications, Dr. the Honorable Surajratan Rambachan, confirmed the move during the weekly post-cabinet media briefing. Kimberly Ramkalawan has more.
In an attempt to decentralize government, 6 state agencies, including government ministries, will relocate to central Trinidad. Foreign Affairs and Communication Minister Surajratan Rambachan highlighted the move as part of government's plans to make services more accessible to citizens. So far, the minister declared that land for 2 major projects will be designated near the Diwali Nagar site.
15 acres will be dedicated to house the head office of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education. So in other words, the headquarters of the Ministry of Tertiary Education will be going to central Trinidad. And also 10 acres for the UWI Open Campus will also be dedicated, and that UWI Open Campus will be set up there. In addition, COSTAT, which you know is in Port of Spain, will be moved to 30 acres of land on the connector road also. So that area is going to be developed into several services of the government.
Dr. Rambachan noted such decentralization will not only develop rural communities, but widen the job market in these areas.
It also sets in motion the development of rural communities. It provides jobs in those rural communities. When you develop rural towns, what you also do is decentralize population. And you also then affect matters of traffic congestion and also the quality of life of people being able to access their workplaces in a shorter and quicker time, therefore reducing some of the stresses that lead to health problems also of people.
Part of this decentralizing process will include the moving of the Community Development and Food Production Ministries. So far, the Ministry of Legal Affairs has established 14 electronic centers across the country that will aid in obtaining electronic birth and death certificates in communities outside Port of Spain at a faster rate. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Wayne Cunningham has the sport report right after the break.
Informing and educating the nation, especially the young ones, about water, how it's won and processed, and how it should be protected are just a few of our major responsibilities here at the Public Education Center. The enjoyable learning environment, cultivating conservation habits, developing healthy relationships, and giving our public an appreciation of the environment in which we produce water. WASA's PEC, the region's only public education center on water.
The Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago has identified the regional associations as key components in the national football setup. The community-based groups are integral to the development thrust planned for the sport, and they will partner with the Sport Company to take football forward. The Eastern Football Association is fully on board with this initiative, and they got the ball rolling on the field with the opening of their 2012 season. Wayne Cunningham has more.
The 2012 season of the Eastern Football Association kicked off on Sunday with a Champions Challenge for the Vernon Bain Trophy. In Game 1, League Cup champions Malabar FC met league winners FC Santa Rosa, with Santa Rosa advancing to the final with a 1-0 victory. In Game 2, FA Trophy winners Wassa FC came up against Emerald Apartments and Plaza Cup winners FC Maloney. Wassa jumped out to a 2-0 lead. But Shull and David's men struck back late to send the game to the shootout. Maloney were woeful from the penalty mark. And Wassa advanced easily to the final to face Santa Rosa. Both teams had a sight of goal in the first half, with Santa Rosa coming closest, but the keeper kept them out as they went into the break even at 0-0. "17 minutes into the second half, the deadlock was broken. Aaron Black latching on to a good pass from Simba Aberdeen to make it 1-0 Santa Rosa. Keith Lucloy's team made 2-0 a difficult mission, although they were getting the chances. Easy chances. Eventually, they got it right, much to the delight of their fans. Kenwell Seeley, the scorer. Aberdeen kept dropping in the crosses, and his efforts were rewarded in spectacular fashion. Dwight Sibello with a crisp diving header. FC Santa Rosa rounded out the scoring in the 90th minute. The talented Dwayne Mockett getting one to spin out of the keeper's grasp to make it 4-0. FC Santa Rosa capturing the Vernon Bain Challenge Trophy and looking good as they head to the National Super League. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we come back, fulfilling the promise.
The iPhone 4S has an all-new camera with 8 megapixels and advanced optics. So it lets you capture stunning photos. And because it's an iPhone, you can do things you never imagined possible with a camera. So maybe the only camera you need is the one on the most amazing iPhone yet.
To commemorate its achievements in its second year in office, the government today launched a 45-page glossy collector's magazine. The magazine, titled Fulfilling the Promise, Shaping the Future, is a compilation of the major achievements of each individual ministry, set to reflect on the 7 interconnecting pillars of development as outlined as part of government's strategic framework. In her message to citizens, Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessa noted the government's second year in office was set to be one of delivery, and throughout the pages of the magazine, citizens will see and read the tangible evidence intended to support the government's promise of delivery. as it is intended to give citizens that opportunity to examine some of government's achievements. The Honorable Prime Minister noted that this publication represents her government's commitment to the principle of accountability, as it seeks to present the completed work done by the government in a simple, easy-to-read format.
You may have noticed in our special feature on Sunday the start of our campaign to highlight the initiatives and the achievements of the government over its 2 years in office. Here at News 4, we want to join in that effort and each day in our news package, we will feature one of those highlights from the long and impressive list of milestones over these 24 months. In this story, we take you back to the inauguration of the Biche High School.
It stands towering above the quiet rural community on the outskirts of the large forested area known as Biche. The edifice, a magnificent one at that, has been steeped in controversy since its completion 10 years ago. During its construction, the Biche High School represented the dreams of a community. Apart from the convenience to residents, who, over the years, had to travel long distances to attend schools in other districts, the institution would have been a symbol of lifelong learning and the quest for a better way of life. Today, with talk of oil and gas emissions at the site and complaints about land slippage well in the past, there is relief. The school is finally up and running.
The problems were twofold. One, the issue of the gas, and then there was a wall that had moved. In both cases, what I understand is that the gas probably was there for a little space of time and it has been dissipated. So that's no longer the case. There's this added security of having the gas monitors, and to this date, the monitors have not recorded any significant level, in fact, any abnormal readings beyond the norm. So we are safe in that regard. The second issue was that of the wall moving, and that has been redone and it's paved and it's safe and secure. So those were the two issues, and it's in the past.
The works comprising the refurbishment of the Biche Government Secondary School, as it's now called, include cleaning and sanitizing works, earthworks, concrete works, block work, roofing work, glazing works, joinery, painting, tiling, metal works, plumbing and electrical works. So that on September 5th, 2011, the school witnessed its first intake of students as anxious parents accompanied by their equally excited children ventured up the winding hill to the school. Many are elated as this school represents the filling of a need in the community.
It's a good job. Okay, it has done a lot. I mean, for the Biche community.
When you do check here, they don't really have a school. So people are also go around there and think.
Yeah, the school was long overdue.
Why would you say that?
The last government stopped the school because of oil problems. But we have school in Petrotrin, we have school in Santa Flora, we have oil wells all over. So it was politics. It will help the community a lot because plenty of people will be saving money with selling children quite outside this area. And it will help, and this school will be, what I will say, it will be best for the community because, and then the government will make sure the school will go good.
I think it's a very good thing in the sense that children don't have to travel out of Biche late in the evening time, because it's a very bushy area to the Biche forest, going through the Biche forest, and most of the children up here now, they don't have to go through that.
Well, it is good for the children and the community. For me, I find it is good.
Principal Rajesh Ram even acknowledged the government's role in this process.
Oh, it's very important because they set the pace, they set the trend, and they have equipped us with all that we need. We're still receiving items, we still need a couple teachers, but they have definitely given us the support and all that is needed to ensure that the school is up and running. So I commend the government in that regard.
He agrees that this school will be a community landmark that will shape and mold the lives of the people of Biche in the coming years. And the Minister of Education, Dr. the Honorable Tim Gopi Singh, underscores the pivotal role of the Biche Secondary School in this regard.
It really fills my heart to be here today to know that in academic year 2011 to 2012, this school will now be occupied with students together with the primary school in Biche. And the spite and the vindictiveness of the past will be no more. For the 10 years that administration kept the school closed, nearly 1,200 students who should have been here at the Beach High School had to travel almost 30 miles per day to and from their residence to seek a secondary education, to go to Manzanilla High School, Sangre Grande, Rio Claro, or Mayaro, in various distant areas from here, when this high school should have been opened.
It's well worth it, you see. The jubilant smiles of the children, the relieved, proud parents, and the excited teachers who are determined to have a role in their future. And it's all possible because this government is committed to fulfilling the promise.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.